I was not really familiar with the musical. I just knew the two leads who played those roles and that it's quite a big deal. Hello and welcome to another cozy movie review where I talk about films with a mug of tea. So get comfy because we're in for a fun ride. I also want to point out that this is a non spoiler review. The film is an adaptation of a stage musical, The Broadway, and that's also based on a book that came out in 1995, if I'm not wrong. And if you don't know, which is okay if you don't know because it hasn't been marketed that way, this is part one, which will be basically act one of the stage musical. Basically, we follow Elphaba and Glinda's backstory, their unlikely friendship, and how it started at She's University, and then everything that happens later on. As someone who is not much familiar with the source material and hasn't read the book, I didn't know what should I expect really. I just knew that it's gonna be a musical and that's about it, obviously. And I had a lot of questions. Also, I wasn't really sure if I was about to be a fan of this or not, but by the end I was really surprised. I was not expecting such a rich story and a message heavy film. Yeah, the overall story might sound a bit basic and cliche, and let me explain. Okay, just wait a second. Basically, it's a story about someone who's been rejected by the society, who's been outcast during their whole life because of how they look and their special ability. And basically, because of all of this, they're vilified. But underneath, the message in the story is much deeper and it has more to tell. You see, what I really find fascinating is that people can relate to both characters. Elphaba is someone who's always been looked down upon on, disrespected and cast aside. Her father really despises her. And what I understood from the film is that her sister didn't really love her as much as Elphaba had this huge amount of love for her. Simply because of her different appearance, she's not even given the chance. She's always that outsider who everyone else wants to talk about and love to hate. The way everyone treats her is exactly just like a villain. I think this story and this film in general is reflective of how we treat people who are different from us. People who won't fit into social norms. And in my opinion, this is the strongest point of the film. Now, Glinda or Galinda, this has been a joke throughout the film, and you'll see it or you've already seen it. Anyway, Glinda, on the other hand, represents the type and kind of people who have been raised with a lot of privileges. People who get anything they want. They usually not only accept those social norms, but they would also fall deep into them. Their point of view of the world is a bit limited due to their upbringing and the education, also their families and society. They would do anything to fit in those boxes that were perfectly designed for them, and they want to be praised because of that. It's not really their fault, to be honest, or it's not completely their fault. It's just how they were raised and they were told. Now let's get to the performances. There are not enough words to describe how amazing Cynthia Erivo's performance is. Her singing voice, absolutely brilliant. And I'm pretty sure she is locked for at least a few noms, if not wins, during the award season. You can clearly witness how she becomes Elphaba. As much as Erivo is great in portraying Elphaba, Ariana Grande is also amazing in portraying Glinda. You can witness that on screen how she becomes Glinda. She has become this character and she is just perfect for this role. Now, to be honest, I might have enjoyed Erivo's performance a tad bit more, but that just may be because I could connect with Elphaba's character a lot, so I'm a bit biased. They were very well casted and they just fit their role perfectly. As for the rest of the cast, I think everybody has done a great job. But I was mostly fascinated with many of the extras that were obviously professional dancers. The musical numbers were beautifully choreographed, and I was in awe of how calculated every step was in those sequences. My personal favorite dance number was Dancing Through Life because not only the library looked gorgeous, but also the whole choreography was just mesmerizing. And on that note, I also have to give a shout out to Jonathan Bailey because what he did in that sequence was just amazing. Now let's get to costume design and hair and makeup. If you've already watched the film or even the trailer, you've probably realized how great the hair and makeup and also the costumes look. But mostly I was impressed with the costume design. Elphaba's glasses, I want them. I don't know where they sell those, but I want them. The attention to detail in every single costume was just astonishing. This is for sure a locked nom and most probably a win in the award season, like in every award probably. Now let's get to set design and VFX. I'm going to talk about set design and visual effects together because I have seen a lot of behind the scene clips that they just put in there and they talk about how everything is practical. But I would say that in many movies, in many projects these days, set design and VFX go hand in hand. Even though in a lot of projects the set is actually and practically there, sure, but obviously a lot of VFX shots are needed. I have to say that I was really impressed with the practical set that they have built. The set design and the art direction just looked gorgeous. But I really have to say that I loved the design of the library, as I mentioned earlier, at the Shiz University. Not the whole Shiz University. That was good, but it wasn't as brilliant as the design of the library. I was in love with that library. I basically just could live there. Just leave me in that library and I'll be happy for the rest of my life. Again, I know the importance of the practical set that they have built, but the VFX, it just looked amazing. Now let's get to the music. This might be the hard part for you to hear it if you're a huge fan of the musical. Oh boy. Obviously, this is a huge part of the film because, after all, it's based on the stage musical. And it's still ongoing and very popular.
Popular, you're gonna be popular
among fans. But I have to admit that the music was just not my cup of tea. Not that I want to enrage anyone. It's just that it wasn't my jam. However, and just wait before you go down there in the comments and just typing in absolute anger. Just wait a second, I have another thing to say. I gotta admit that Defying Gravity was the track that got me the most emotional. Not that I cried or had tears in my eyes. No, I know I saw a lot of people had tears in their eyes or cried. I did not. It got me emotional because of how impactful it was in terms of what it meant and what it represented. So at least in the first act or the first film, I liked this one the most. And lastly, I have to talk about directing. I have a lot of respect for John M. Chu and what he has done with the story and with this film. Each sequence was carefully crafted, designed, and choreographed. Every single movement, from actors to everything else on set, is carefully calculated. The camera movement is smooth and well thought out. In my opinion, there's not one single shot that is wasted. And you can understand that because the runtime of the film is 2 hours and 40 minutes, and you don't feel that it's that long. I'm running out of my fuel. Finally, should you watch this film? Yes, absolutely. You may not be a huge fan of musicals, which is totally fine, by the way. In that case, I would suggest you to give this film a shot when it hits VOD or on streaming. Of course, I would highly encourage you to go and watch it on the biggest screen because that's the way that I think you will enjoy it more. But again, if you're not a huge fan of the musicals, totally fine. But I think the story, the rich storytelling, and the messaging, that, and also the brilliant performances, it just makes it worth giving it a shot. So, this has been my Wicked Part 1 review. Tell me down in the comments what do you think of the film if you've already watched it. Have you also watched the stage musical? Have you read the book? And would you recommend the book actually? Because now I'm interested. I've heard that it's darker than the stage musical and the film, which I'm totally into. Anyways, and don't spoil anything down in the comments. I would really appreciate that. Anyhow, until the next cozy movie review. Bye.